Good morning. So, in today's Daily Dose of Decker, sponsored again by Chatty, the question is, tell me of a time when you let go of trying to control something, and by doing so, it actually turned out better than if you had continued controlling it. And then the accompanying word is equanimity, which is calmness, composure, and balance, I think, especially under tension or stress or uncertainty or something like that. So there's a couple of different scenarios that came up, but I have about 15 minutes before I am meeting up with my cousin Nathan because he just got into town. And so I was like, this is going to be perfect. I think I have the perfect story in mind. And it is the story of when I actually let go and trusted the process of marrying Alexia. Okay, so my whole story starts off at EFY. So Lexi's 14, I'm 16, 17 years old, and we meet up at EFY. She lives down in St. George. I live up here in Utah County. We live about 250 miles away from one another, basically at the top and the bottom of the state of Utah. And I knew like right away that she was someone special. And we met at the beginning of the summer. At the end of the summer, we went to a ballroom dance camp together. And that's when it like really hit it off. And that's when I met her mom. And in meeting her mom, she kind of extended the invite of, hey, if you ever come down to St. George, I'd love to host you. We'd love to have you hang out with us and da-da-da-da. So about 2 months after that, I had saved up enough money as a teenager to drive down to St. George and stay at like a cute little Airbnb, a little like bed and breakfast, and then actually like meet Lexi's, like her family, and kind of like really spend good quality time with her. And it was like in that first visit down, I was like, yeah, this lady's the one. This girl's the one. And I remember changing my prayers at that point to mold me into the man that would marry Alexia. Okay. So for the next 2 years, I try to do everything I can to really like put myself in her good graces as well as her family's good graces. She couldn't kiss until she was 16, so I had to wait 18 months. And what I would do is, it was a pretty easy formula. I would go home, I would work at my parents' restaurant, I would save up all of my tips and save up all of my money for about 4 weeks, and then I would have one weekend where I would drive down to St. George. I'd spend all Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and wake up really early Monday morning, and then drive back, in time to catch school so that I could repeat the whole process. And remember, I couldn't kiss her until she was 16 years old, which was 18 months away. So I did this for 18 straight months. I'd save up all of my money, I would drive down, I'd see her for 3 days, and then I would whip back around and repeat this cycle over and over and over and over again until basically like she was 16. So in this time, I'm getting to know her family. I'm like doing everything I can to impress her and her family. We end up actually kissing. 3 months after that, I get my mission call to serve in Italy. And then about 4 months after that, I leave on my mission. And so this was right around the time where I knew that like, okay, Lexi is going to graduate high school 3 weeks before I return home from my mission. Okay. So I kind of set it up where I was like, okay, what would I need to do? What would be all the things, like if I could pull out all of the stops, what would be all of the stops I'd pull out in order to just like be in her, her family's good graces and her good graces. So I did, ridiculous stuff. So a couple of things. The first is, before I left on my mission, I made 730 emails. I created a new email address, and it was called Because You Are My Princess. Oh my gosh, it's kind of psychopathic, right? It's a little like, if it didn't work out, this would be a little cringe, a little on the like, this kid might need counseling skills. But I made this email address and I called it Because You Are My Princess, and I sent 730 emails to this address. I just sent it back to itself, right? And it's every single one of them was a new email, a new message, a new video, a couple of new photos that Lexi had never seen before. So that on the day that I left on my mission, I could give her the login and password, and then she could open up one a day every single day of my mission. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second is I did some research and I found that the oldest, longest standing flower shop in St. George was this one right in the middle of St. George. And I saved up enough money, called this place before my mission, and I said, hey, look, I want to give you a deposit. It was like several $100s. It was like almost $1,000. And I gave them a deposit and I said, look, I need you guys to send Lexi flowers on the 12th of every single month for the next 2 years. I need you to send her, which is her birthday, right? No, on the 25th of every single month, because that was the day that we met, May 25th. And then I need you to send it on her birthday, on Valentine's Day. And then I went a step further and I was like, okay, I'm gonna send flowers to her sister, to her mom, like every girl in her life that was important to her, with like a really heartfelt message being like, thank you so much. You're such an inspiration to me, and da 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 da. Like, I just went over the top, okay? So that's the second thing. The third thing is, while I was on my mission, I wrote 10-page letters. 10-page letters every single week to Lexi and numbered them, right? Number 1, number 2, number 3, all the way to 104. And I wrote Lexi 10-page letters. I put pictures of Jesus and the Virgin Mary on these envelopes so that I knew it would go through the Italian Postal Service and would get to her, so that she could open up these messages she could open up this mail every single week and she could read about it. And this is like all kinds of stuff. It's about the mission, it's about our relationship, it's about her, it's about, the future and all this different stuff, okay? Then I would spend all P-Day, even though like back then it wasn't allowed, I would spend basically like an hour and a half writing her a super long email, okay? Every month, I would budget accordingly so that I would take the missionary budget and I would put just enough away where I could send her a care package once a month of like trinkets, memorabilia, like special stuff, right? It got to a point where, okay, then we had we had an embassy, a US base in our ward in Pozzuoli, where I was able to basically use the United States Postal Service through the base. So I get phenomenal shipping rates on bigger packages. And I knew that they would go directly to her mail, right? So I would go into the Naples black market and I would buy beautiful Neapolitan hand-woven ties for like €1 to €3. I would get 100, 200 of these ties. I'd jam them all into a box, ship them off to her, and then I would reach out to clothing stores in St. George to have her retail them at her store, saying that like it's supporting a missionary. And then they would then sell these like hand-woven ties for $10 to $20. She'd make a bunch of profit and then she'd get to keep it, but like supported the missionary was supporting me, right? Okay, point is I went above and beyond and did just the craziest stuff. And to the point where I was just smothering her. I wanted to do everything. Like, I had her whole family just love me. I was like, I want to do everything I can so that she can date during high school, but no guy is going to go to the length that I went to in order to like woo her and win her over. To the point where it was like, if this doesn't work out, I might need counseling, because like it's a little psychopathic. Okay, so I'm 18 months into my mission. And I have just kind of discovered the ultimate question, right? The ultimate question that if you ask yourself in a humble and a receptive state, you'll receive inspired revelation as to what to do next. And the question is, how, Lord, can I love you more? So I'd been testing this question for about 2 months. It ended up turning into like a whole family getting baptized. It was a really, really neat experience. In fact, it's one of the daily doses of Deckers. I've done a video on that whole experience. But after that whole experience, I knew that like, okay, either this is the ultimate question or it is very, very close to the ultimate question. And so I began tinkering and explaining, like testing this out again. How, Lord, can I love you more? And when I asked this question after the whole first experience of getting that family baptized, the feeling I got was very clear, like, you need to focus on me more. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't want to accept what God was really trying to tell me, but I was like, I'm on a mission. I'm serving you all day long. I've been doing this for 18 months. What are you talking about? Like, all right. Okay, how, Lord, can I love you more? And I got the exact same answer. Took a second. You need to focus on me more. And I was like, oh, do you mean like prioritize you more? Maybe that's what he's referring. Okay, all right, let's just ask this again. Okay, how, Lord, can I love you more? And the third time I asked it, it was not only the same answer, you need to focus on me more. It became very clear to me what that meant, which was I need to put God first in my mind and in my heart, instead of having him be like visibly, physically, I'm putting him first. But mentally and spiritually, I'm putting Lexi first. I went on this mission. Oh, so here's another part. I asked Lexi about 16, 17 months before I left on my mission. I was like, hey, like, what language do you think is sexier for a guy to speak, French or Italian? And her response, I remember her response was like, I think it's prettier for women to speak French, but I think it's better for men to speak Italian. And from that, I went, okay, Lord, I want to go to Italy. I'm serving in Italy. I then bought Rosetta Stone and spent every single lunch hour, not with friends, not eating food. I would spend that whole entire lunch hour just studying Rosetta Stone, okay? I then did a study abroad. I saved up all of my money so that I could do a study abroad in Italy. I then took college level courses before leaving on my mission in Italian, 300 level courses in Italian. The whole approach was like, okay, how do I serve a mission in Italy? Like, mold me into the man that will serve a mission in Italy, because really what I want is for you to mold me into a man that marries Lexi. So then I ended up getting that prayer answered as well, which was I got to end up serving in Italy. And that's a whole other story, okay? So basically, I'm serving this mission not for God. I'm serving this mission for Lexi, so that I have the perfect resume showing that, like, this is the only guy you should marry, Carrie. And when I really came to terms with that, like, yeah, I'm not serving this mission for you, God. I'm serving this mission for Lexi. Did I realize, like, oh, how hard is this going to be for me to let go of control and like trust the process, trust that God is going to do what's best for me and do what's best for Lexi. And that took me like 2 weeks to really believe that he was actually going to help me. He was actually going to he was actually going to bless me and Lexi and do what's best for us. And in that 2 weeks, I lost 12 pounds. I had horrible sleep. I was super reactionary, and I was doing everything internally, mentally, physically, and even spiritually, fighting against this reality, fighting against this truth that I need to prioritize him over Lexi. And when I finally came to accept it, I reached out to Angie, Lexi's mom, and I emailed her and I was like, hey, look, I've been really praying and fasting about this. And, I think I've just realized, like, Heavenly Father has told me I need to, like, let Lexi go. I need to spend the last 6 months of my mission really focused on the Lord. And I'm not gonna, I don't want to, I want her to also, like, date and really, really try to, like, figure this stuff out for herself while I'm trying to focus on Heavenly Father here. And Angie was like, oh my gosh, this is so inspired. This is exactly what I was thinking. You know, that like, I think that you're probably the perfect guy for my daughter, but we need to make sure that like everyone is getting the right chance to do the right thing. And so anyways, the point is dang it, I was following my cousin Nathan and now I've lost him. Dang it. Okay, I've got to have to pause this. The point is, I have been spending about 4 years totally dedicated to this idea of mold me into the man that marries Alexia. And I tried to pull out all of the stops, and I made what I would call the most ridiculous amount of sacrifices and effort and determination, just tunnel vision, focused on getting this thing. Like, all right, I'm marrying this girl. What do I need to do in order to get this girl to marry me, right? So relinquishing control after having spent 4 years doing everything I can to control this was psychologically, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, I think one of the hardest things to relinquish it was for me to go, I can't control this. I can't control this. And I have done everything I possibly can think of, truly think of, in order to make this work. You know, what's the saying? Trust more, do less. So I reached out to Angie and I said, hey, look, like, I think your daughter and I should take a break. And basically we shouldn't talk to each other for the next 6 months until I get home from my mission. Let her do her thing. Let me do my thing. I'll focus on the Lord. I think that's going to be best for both of us. Learning how to prioritize Heavenly Father over everything else, even if it's your spouse or what I thought was going to be my spouse, and go from there. So the next 6 months of my mission are transformative. It makes the last 18 months, which was arduous and slow, and I was counting down the days, to making it all worth it, because the next 6 months, it was miracle after miracle, personal transformation, familial transformation, member transformation. It was baptisms and success and fostering relationships with people that I still hold as relationships today, 12 years later. So I get home from my mission, and I see Lexi. She's actually at my house. She had driven up. It was like 2 days later that she ends up coming after I return home from my mission. I immediately kiss her. Right? I'm just like, I'm back to Carrie. Get back to Carrie mode. How do I woo this woman again? And I find out that she's dating a dude. And this guy, she's like super serious about. He's an older guy. He was like 26, I think. And she's like 18. I know, it's kind of weird. The guy owned like his own company, a couple of cars, his own houses. Like, he looked like everything on paper. He was a great dude, right? And so Lexi, again, having had spent 6 months kind of like figuring herself out, discovering herself, and then seeing what she really wants and doesn't want in a guy, got kind of like, I don't know if she fell in love with the dude, but she definitely was like dating the guy and seriously considering like marrying him. So in this point, she's this like, we'll see how this goes. I'm more of like doing this out of a favor to Carrie to come and see him. And also, like, I think there was a lot of guilt tripping from her sister and from her mom. Like, you got to give Carrie a chance. So she comes up with her sister, and I'm really trying. And for like 3-4 days, it just, nothing was working. And it just seemed like, man, I just feel like Lexi's kind of giving me the cold shoulder. I don't know. Maybe this isn't the right thing. And I'm trying to think of, maybe it's Nathan, my man. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Nathan. We're going to be seeing a lot more of him in the daily doses of Decker, and probably my videos over the next couple little bit. So I'm just going to finish up the story. So the story is basically how I ended up marrying Lexi, but it was through letting go and instead of trying to control everything, and how it actually turned out serendipitously in my favor. Okay, so Lexi at this point is just like super standoffish, right? I spent like 2 or 3 days with her. Her sister's there. We've done everything that like we would do before the mission, which is, we're going out to eat, we're hanging out together, we're going bowling, we're going shopping, and it just doesn't seem like like, what is it? Like, something's going on, and it's not me, and it's not her sister Keisha, it's Lexi. There's something going on with Lexi. And so I kind of confide in her sister Keisha. I'm like, hey, look, I don't know what it is, but like, you know, I'm pulling out all the stops. Like, I'm on full-blown charm mode, and something isn't working. She's like, I get it. Like, and I see it too. I don't know what's going on with my sister. So Keisha ends up pulling Lexi aside while I'm over doing something else. And she says, like, hey, you're about to lose probably the best thing that's ever happened to you. And if you can't see it, then fine. I'm gonna go try and date him. Okay? So this like totally lit a fire under Lexi's butt. It was just like, what? Right? So Keisha, shout out to Keisha, right? Because she really was the one who like revived or like reignited this whole like thing, and it was through competition, you know, whatever. But Keisha was like dead serious. She's like, look, I've seen what this guy has done for you over the last 4 years. If you can't recognize what you've got, then you know, I'm gonna jump on this. Okay. So Lexi then like makes a full switch, and everything starts going really, really well. And then she basically like puts this guy off that she was really considering marrying, and then we start dating. So 2 weeks go by. We've gone on a bunch of vacations together. Like, we went down to St. George, and then we went boating together, and then she came back up to Utah, like Utah County and all this stuff. And it's really coming to this point of, oh, Lexi's going to be coming to, you know, starting school at BYU, and it's going to happen in like 2 or 3 months. And she's still like, okay, I'm really, really in love with Carrie. And however, like, I don't know what college is like, and I don't know if like dating, I still want to give that a shot. I still want to see, like, I got the high school experience, but I want to get the college experience. And so this is like the conversation, is me recognizing like, okay, so wait, you love me? You're in love with me. You're pretty sure I'm the dude. I'm over here like, I've got no alternative, right? I'm all in. And now I'm going to have to just wait until you date a bunch of dudes in college? Like, what is going on, right? So we get into like this kind of this argument, this debate. We're at her mom's house, and she ends up going out of the house and going to get into her car. And I can't remember what it was, and I didn't follow her, but I ended up having to go outside as well. So we're sitting in her mom's driveway, and I'm like, look, I'm like trying to talk to her, and we're trying to like figure this out, and it's a really delicate situation because I don't want to be like, how is this fair? Like, you know, I've done everything. Like, you can't. But at the same time, it's like, how is this fair of me to then request this of her, that she hasn't fully had the experience that she needs and gone through the process that she needs to go through in order to be as sure and as confident as I am. And just like that moment on my mission where I asked, how, Lord, can I love you more? And I got that feeling of like, you need to focus on me more. In other words, like, you need to trust and do less. You need to trust this process and just allow it to unfold as it needs to. I've got you. Was the same feeling I end up getting in this driveway. And it's like right there as I'm holding Lexi. And I said, you know what? Like, look, I know you want to like have the full college experience. You want to go to school, you want to date, you want to socialize. And I know that you're doing this both for yourself, but also to really be sure that like I'm the right fit for you. And as hard as that is for me to accept, I love you more than willing to have you forfeit that experience. And so, you know what? Okay. I know that you're the one. And if you need more time, and you need to date more people, and you need to have all these other experiences in order to find this out for yourself, I'm okay with that. And if that means you dating a bunch of guys, and we're both going to school together, and you're dating a bunch of other guys, and I just have to, you know, wait and kind of watch on the sidelines, like, I'm willing to make that sacrifice. Like, I'm in this. Like, I love you, and I want to be with you. And I want you to be as sure about that as I am. And you could just feel it was like being 100% vulnerable. And just like, okay, here it is. I kid you not. She's looking at me in the eyes, and she starts to tear up, and she's like, that's all I needed. I don't need to date, guys. We're good. And I was like, are you serious? Are you sure? Like, are you sure? Okay, all right, let's just move forward with this idea, right? So, but it was like in that moment, it was like it was letting go of control, completely putting it back in the Lord's hands and having faith that he's gonna take care of me, and he's going to take care of Lexi in the best way possible. And it was like totally relinquishing control that allowed this to unfold in a much better way. In fact, not a much better way, in the best way. Because we were both be able to come to the table at our own free will, knowing that what the other person wants, and then putting those wants on the table, and then being able to accept that. And so going back to the accompanying word, equanimity, that idea of being calm, balanced, and a feeling of like under immense amounts of stress or tension is really what happened building up to the moment that I let go of our relationship and began to trust God on my mission. And then it happened again leading up to that moment, standing in the driveway with Lexi and going like, okay, I'm letting go of control again. I'm gonna trust Heavenly Father. And for someone who prides themselves on being diligent and determined and just focused on achieving things and trying to remain and hold fast to a long-term vision, it's difficult for me to be able to trust outside influences to do as good of a job as I would do in that thing. Because it's just like, look, I've been spending the last 4 years and I've invested all of my time and attention into trying to make this work. And then realizing that it's like, you know what? You have done everything imaginable. Like, you could not have done more for this. Now, let go. Like, trust in Heavenly Father, in the universe, in God, whatever you want to call it. Trust in that thing that you have done your best, and then so that you can just forget the rest. You can just trust more, do less. You can hand it over to Heavenly Father and go like, all right, I have done everything I can, and I can feel totally 100% okay with the fact. Like, I pulled out all the stops. I did not leave any rock unturned. I did everything I could. And so, however this is supposed to go is how it's supposed to go. And at this point, I'm okay with that. And it's usually like when you come to full acceptance that like I am personally and consciously and willingly giving up that control. It's not like it was taken from me, right? It's like I am choosing to give up. I'm choosing to give this up. I'm choosing to sacrifice this and trust you, is when the real miracles begin to happen. Is when like the universe folds on top of itself and everything lines up and you're like, how? Oh my gosh, like that's all it took was just to trust you? Like, oh my gosh, everything kind of fell into place like that quickly, and I couldn't have even planned this. Like, it's, oh my gosh. And how that is both a reminder to me, and also I feel as an invitational comfort to you, that if you are trying to do everything you possibly can, you're not leaving any stone unturned. You're truly doing everything you possibly can in order to become the kind of individual that you want, to complete or achieve a goal. And it just seems like you just keep hitting this roadblock, like this wall, this insurmountable wall, right? This unbreakable wall. It might just be the moment where you need to go, I've done everything I can. Okay. I'm going to trust this. I'm going to trust you, Heavenly Father. I'm just going to let this go. and know that you're going to take care of me. And I think in doing that is when, like I said, the miracles begin to manifest. And the Lord just goes, here's the universe, here's all of the problems, everything that's going on, and somehow just goes and lines everything up to just work out. So that is my daily dose of Decker for today. Until next time.